Gautama or Siddhartha was a prince born in the Lumbini district in Nepal in 490 BCE. Some sources say that he was born in 563 BCE. And at that time, Lumbini was governed by the Shakya community, and he was the prince of the Shakya community. And his father, the king, wanted to protect his son from all the sufferings in the world, so he was not allowed to leave the palace gates. Gautama had a very luxurious life, and he married to a very beautiful woman, but he was not satisfied with any of that. He wanted to see the real world. By the time he was 29, he was able to leave the temple gates on 4 different occasions. And whatever happened on those 4 chance outings changed his life. So in the first outing of the 4, he happened to see a very old man who was leaning forward and had trouble walking. On the second occasion, Gautama, also known as Shakyamuni, saw a very sick man who was crying out in pain. On the third occasion, he saw the still and cold body of a dead man. And the fourth time he went out, he happened to see a religious monk who was in pursuit of the absolute truth. So while the first 3 sights were of old age, sickness and death, the fourth was about seeking truth. So seeing the old monk inspired Gautama to leave all the luxury behind and to go to live in pursuit of the truth. So he decides to leave his luxurious life in the palace and his beautiful wife and his son, and he goes on in the pursuit of religious truth. And his objective was to find an end to all kinds of suffering. And following his renunciation of the worldly life, he is believed to have studied under 2 different spiritual gurus. The first one is Alara Kamala. In Sanskrit, he is called Arada Kamala. And the second one was Udraga Ramaputra, or in Pali, Udaga Ramaputta. From Alara Kamala, he learned the meditative attainment of the sphere of nothingness. And from Udaga Ramaputta, he learned the sphere of neither perception or non-perception. That is, from one he learned the Hindu philosophical or Vedic philosophical tenet that everything leads to nothing. And from the second guru, he learned that we could stay in a state of not perceiving anything and in an equanimity state. Now, there are some people out there who say that the Hindu philosophy, that a lot of Hindu philosophy, including ahimsa and meditation and mindfulness, all were taken from Buddhism, and this is the proof that that is a very ridiculous claim, because Buddha was actually taught about these ways by Hindu spiritual leaders. But as we read from the historical sources, he was not satisfied with the teachings of these 2 gurus, and in many ways he was deemed superior to them, to the point that they actually offered to give him their ashrams to lead. But he did not want to stay there, so he left. Like we saw, Gautama's goal in life was to end suffering. But once he leaves his gurus, he goes on to commit himself to one of the most harshest ascetic disciplines. He spent his days eating only 1 grain of rice every day, and he was so emaciated and sick. But once again, the truth eluded him. And he was so sick to the point that he stumbles into a river and he follows the voice that was calling out to him. But in another version, he was found in the woods by a milkmaid named Sujata, and she mistakes him for a tree spirit because he was so emaciated and he was one with the tree. When she realizes that this was a monk meditating, she offers him rice milk. The milk revives him and he ends his ascetic ways. He goes to a nearby village called Gaya or Bodh Gaya. He sat himself on a bed of grass under the Bodhi tree and he decided not to get up from his seat until he realizes the ultimate truth. So 6 years of harsh suffering and dhyana or meditation under the Bodhi tree, and what did he find out? In his pursuit of truth, he realizes that human suffering, especially the 4 kinds of suffering that he witnessed in his youth, happens because of the insistence on permanence in an impermanent world. Life is in a constant state of flux. Life is change. So if we attach ourselves to anything, to something or anything, we will be stuck in an endless cycle of craving, striving, death and rebirth. So when he attains this incredible knowledge, he also attains Nirvana and becomes Buddha, the enlightened one. And he also realizes from this attainment of truth that it was the middle path that was the best way. If you are in extreme comfort or if you are in extreme misery, the truth will elude you. So you need to take the middle path, or you need to find a balance in both worlds, within the both worlds, if you need to find the truth. So that is how Gautama or Siddhartha becomes the Buddha, and he goes on to spread this newfound knowledge throughout the world in his life for the rest of his life. His first official sermon, and all the UPSC and SSC aspirants would know the answer to this, would be at the Deer Park at Sarnath, where he talks about the 4 noble truths and the Eightfold Path to achieving that truth for the first time ever. The 4 noble truths are as follows. 1. Life is suffering. 2. The root cause of all suffering is craving or attachment. And 3. The end of suffering comes when there is an end to craving or attachment. And 4th, and most importantly, there is a path which will lead one to end craving and suffering. As with Hinduism, Buddhism also believes in reincarnation, that is the cycle of death and rebirth. Because of one's past karmas, they will be reborn again and again. And it could be anywhere in the universe, including hell and heaven. But it doesn't matter where you're reborn, you're still in the cycle of reincarnation, which is bad. And this cycle of death and rebirth is denoted by the wheel called the Dharma Chakra. Once you understand the 4 noble truths and you start to walk on that path, you will achieve sustained happiness and freedom from another cycle of rebirth after your death. And that is called as Nirvana. So now we know that there is suffering, then there is an end to suffering, and there is a path to that. So what is that path? The Eightfold Path is divided into 3: moral conduct, second is concentration, and third is wisdom. Moral content consists of right speech, right action, right livelihood. Concentration consists of right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Wisdom consists of right thought and right understanding. So if you follow these 8 paths or these 8 laws, you will attain the end of suffering or Nirvana. These are all the details about it. So please go and check it out if you want to know more. And I don't know if I should make a video separately for this. If you are interested to know more about these, please let me know in the comment section. We can think about making another video. Buddhism started in India and it soon spread to China and other countries in Asia like Korea, Japan, Thailand, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. Oh, and of course it got its own interpretation and it took on many more forms as it evolved. And today, Buddhism is the fourth largest religion in the world. In Bharat, we already had many texts and philosophies that talked about similar concepts. Patanjali Yoga Sutra talks about Ashtanga Yoga, which is the 8 limbs of yoga, which is similar to Buddhism. And there were a lot of sadhus and monks who followed the same kind of path to finding truth. But the socio-cultural order of Bharat at that time was very Brahmanical in nature. It was very divisive and despotic in terms of religious practices. The Vedic practices and rituals were very prominent, and caste system was imposed across the society. The society was divided into multiple strata, and the Brahmins at the top controlled everything related to knowledge and related to spirituality and divinity. We were very religiously devoted to the concepts of the Trimurtis and the Devas, the Panchabhutas, and pleasing them through all kinds of sacrificial pyres and pujas and so on. And for all of that, we needed Brahmanical people. And these were all doing more harm than good in the society. I mean, there were people who were walking a different path, but the mainstream, especially in the mainlands, this was the no. Buddhism came along. That did not divide people on the lines of caste or divinity or purity, even though it believed in reincarnation and rebirth. It didn't talk about complicated rituals and pujas that required a specific kind of people vis-a-vis Brahmins. And as a philosophy and a religious practice, it did not require Brahmins at all. And though it was incredibly spiritual, it did not talk about a god or a group of gods that we had to please through our actions by any means. So that was why Buddhism was so attractive in Bharat, and that is how it's been. This is the point of departure of Buddhism from all the other traditions in Bharat. The 3 marks of existence are anicca, anatta, and dukkha. Anicca means that everything is impermanent or unstable, or that everything is made of parts, and therefore everything will fall apart to its parts. Anatta means no self, or the absence of a self. That is, we as life forms, as animals and as humans, are without substance. And self is just a product of our thoughts, emotions, feelings and experiences and memories. So, and beyond that, there is nothing. There is no self or no Brahma. And dukkha, of course, is the belief that there is anything permanent or that there is a self. So if one attempts to maintain a core belief of oneself, or if one believes that there is something permanent and undestroyable, indestructible in this universe or beyond this universe, that according to Buddhism would lead to suffering and rebirth and the cycle of death and rebirth. And this is in the polar opposite of what has been taught in Hinduism and in most other Eastern traditions at the time. Because Buddhism was Gnostic, atheistic and nihilistic. While Nirvana in Buddhism is a state of non-self or anatta, Kaivalya or moksha in Hinduism is the attainment of the ultimate reality, that is the state of oneness or the one state or the one self. And that's where Hinduism and Buddhism were at crossroads, and that is why Hindu philosophers and Hindu monks and sadhus and the proponents of Sanatana Dharmam or Hinduism in the coming years and decades and centuries went on to debunk and reject Buddhism in the subcontinent. And some people say that this debate and hostility was violent and bloody at times, but I don't know about that. If you know it was true? Please let me know in the comment section. I would really love to look into it in the coming videos. So this is just the overview of Buddhism and how it came to be, and how Gautama became the Buddha, and what he learned and taught in his lifetime in the 4th or 5th century BCE. So this is not a standalone video. I cannot promise the next video will also be about Buddhism, but soon there will be more videos on Buddhism and how it had troubles with Hinduism and so on and so forth. So if you are interested to learn about them, please subscribe to this channel and tune in. Have a great time and Happy New Year. Have an awesome 2024. Hi guys, and here is the first book I have written, Life in a Ziploc Bag. It's the story of 4 teens living in a city and the impactful reality of modern life, where we often chase love, intoxication and adventure. Does it seem like a story that you would be interested in? If so, please check it out on Amazon or Flipkart. And it's also available for direct buying from the publisher itself. All these links are given in the description. Grab your copy now. Thank you.